Hello, everybody. I'm Evan Kamko. Each week, join myself and an expert line panel dissect the latest sports news from some of the nation's most elite college programs right here in Bloomington to the biggest stadiums and stages around the world. Stick around because we have a great show for you coming up on the Toss-Up. Crushed that one. That was... Springtime is almost here, and you can hear the crack of the bat from Bart Kaufman Stadium. It's baseball season, and today, as opening pitch is a few hours away, we'll take a deep dive into Jeff Mercer's squad. So here on the show, we have a stacked panel, because we always have a stacked panel on the toss-up. That's Nick Rodecap from the IDS, Andy Manzur, one of our IUSCV sports beat reporters for baseball, and long friend Griffin Epstein. Griffin, this is nice. I get to see you again.
It's good to have a reunion. Last time we were in Israel. You say last time in Jerusalem, but it's like this time in Bloomington, right?
Yeah, you know, now in 6 months, maybe, who knows? Where are we going to be? Probably together at some point. Andy, Nick, welcome to the show, guys. Excited to have both of you as well. Anyway, let's dive right into it. Griffin, I'm going to start with you. Indiana, they had quite a comeback towards the end of the season, initially losing to Maryland before beating losing and then winning. And they got eliminated at, like 6 in the morning. So what, to you, the momentum they were building towards the end of the season, what do they have to do to keep that up to start this season? Yeah,
they had a good run. As you said, won 2 games in the Big Ten tournament, knocked off Maryland, which was the top seed, went on to host a regional. But it was really the offense and the young offensive core that was the reason Indiana had success, especially the back half of the season. They had 4 all-Big Ten freshman players. No other school in the Big Ten had more than 2. It was the pitching that was more bumpy that they're looking to improve on this season. Had a lot of transfers last year. Not all the guys worked out. They're hoping this season they've got some new guys out of the portal that's going to really improve, because a lot of those freshmen, now they get a second year to improve even more. That's a scary sight for other Big Ten pitching staffs.
And you talk about transfers, Nick, the starter on Friday, Ben Seiler, he's a transfer as well.
Yeah, I think it's kind of fitting the way that Indiana has been kind of rebuilding their pitching staff over the last couple of years, that Jeff Mercer tabbed Ben Styler to be the starter on opening day. I think that says a lot about the confidence that he has in the transfer. Obviously, he's a new guy, but I think that shows a lot about the trust that Mercer has in him, that he's willing to trot him out there on opening day against a team like Auburn. The SEC baseball, it's no joke.
And we're going to talk a lot more about, the national landscape of baseball and Big Ten baseball. But Andy, what are your thoughts so far on this IU team?
Well, I think, there's a lot of returning players, and it's a group that's really coming together. Yes, the Hoosiers lost 3 key pitchers to the draft, Reese Sharp, and a couple other starters. I apologize, forgot the name. His last second. But key is they need to come out swinging. That's no pun intended. First pitch got to be there. Pitchers got to be throwing strikes. As we all know, baseball is such an easy game to fail at. So all they have to do is go in there, throw strikes, do the easy stuff, make the fundamental plays, hunt the fastball, be ready, be aggressive in the at the plate, because, like he said, SEC pitching is different. They're going to be hitting their spots. You got to pick them.
And, baseball, success is 3 out of 10 times, and that's a fail. But, Nick, I'll go back to you. Carter Matheson, he's a guy that was really impressive as a freshman last year. How do you see him building off of last season?
Well, I think he's got a nice tandem going on between him and Matt Ellis. We saw it at the preseason presser a couple weeks ago. And also the other freshman that he's got around him. Matheson was a big power bat last year. And I think that he's going to continue to hit the ball out of the yard, but he's also going to sort of take a step physically in a way that freshmen usually, obviously they're young, they're still trying to develop. And I think we're going to see him continue to hit the ball out of the yard and maybe even break some records along the way.
Oh, I just don't know how else he could get better. He comes in, he's hitting 274 average. Big number is 608 slugging percentage, which means when he hits the ball, he hits it hard and far, which drives in a lot of runs. You talk about the 19 homers as a freshman. Really impressive stuff coming out of him. But also, he walked 36 times last year, so he sees the ball well. It's not just a power bat. It's a guy who comes in, hits for power, hits for average. It's a great, bat to have in the lineup every day.
Yeah, I know Andy said it well. 19 home runs last year. He broke Alex Dickerson, a current MLB player, for most home runs as a freshman at IU. He was in the top 10 of all players in the Big Ten for home runs. His power, undeniable. I think the one area that he wants to improve his game is in the field, in the left field. He's not the most athletic guy in the field. That's something him and the coaches have been working on. If he wants to be an MLB prospect, I think that's one area of his game, and one area for IU all across the diamond they're trying to focus on and improve on to help out their pitchers.
And now you look at some of their opponents coming up. You face against Auburn in the season opener, and then I believe they go to Texas. And that's not an easy start. So, Andy, what do you make of such a hard non-conference schedule right out of the bat?
Well, it's going to put some hair on their chest. That's the best way to put it, because these teams, they all have draft prospects all throughout the lineup. Like we've talked constantly saying, SEC baseball is different. You see the Tennessees, the Vanderbilts, Auburn. They're all ready. They play year-round. It's not like they're going to go to the field. It's like, oh, it's our first time here. It's always sunny in the South. It's always warm. They can always play, go outside, get reps. Griffin mentioned earlier today, IU finally went to the softball field to take grounders because, they have a turf field here. Bounces are different on the ground, so it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment there.
And Nick, how critical is it for IU to get off to that really good start and be somewhere around 500 against some of these ranked opponents?
I think it's important for them to focus on short-term goals and doing the little things right. It sounds like a cliche, but you can't win a Big Ten title in the first week of the season. So I think it's important for them to take things one game at a time and realize that if you can win innings, if you can win at-bats, the wins are going to start to fall into place. And it might not be against some really tough opponents on the road, but if they can set the tone by having successful at-bats, successful innings at the start, I think it'll prove well for them down the line.
Griffin?
Yeah, it's a really hard schedule, but this is something that Jeff Mercer has done every single year. He's been at IU. They almost always start the season at a really high-quality team down south. They did it against LSU in 2020. They did it last year against Clemson. This might be the hardest, though, yet with Auburn made the College World Series last year. Texas made the College World Series last year. Then a tournament at East Carolina where they open against ECU also made the College World Series last year. So it doesn't get much harder than that, but Coach Mercer often talks about iron sharpens iron. This is the way IU's going to get better. And also when it comes to the NCAA tournament picture, if they want to make the tournament with how the Big Ten has been evaluated lately by the committee, they're going to have to win some of these games, and they had to make this schedule because in the end, they want to be a team that makes it to Omaha. That's been IU's goal and been, I don't know if their standard, but obviously 10 years ago, making the College World Series, that's always the end goal.
And it's so rare for a Big Ten team nowadays to get there. We've talked about national scale. Let's scope it down a little bit. Let's look at the Big Ten. You had powerhouse teams out of the Big Ten, or I guess you could call them powerhouse teams, Maryland, Rutgers, and Illinois. Nick, I'll start with you. Do those three teams come back as good as they were last year, or do you expect a little bit of a regression and a chance for Indiana to leap up into that top tier of Big Ten teams where they haven't been since about 2020, 2021?
Well, there's a saying in baseball that momentum is only as good as your next day's pitcher. And I think that applies on a larger scale here because we can talk about trends from previous seasons, and especially in the college athletics landscape as we see it today, a lot of guys move around very frequently. And it's difficult to keep a constant level of performance from year to year. We saw, like I said before, IU had a down year last year. I think it'll be tough for those teams to stay up at the top.
Griffin?
Maryland's really good. They have built an exceptional program. They've recruited really well. They lose Chris Aline, the Big Ten Player of the Year, but we'll talk about some of their outstanding players, I think, in some of our predictions later. They are still stacked. They play a really tough non-conference schedule. They're top 15 in the country. They're certainly the favorite to win the Big Ten, rightfully so. But Rutgers, I mean, it was a shock, I think, for everyone across college baseball to see Rutgers let out of the NCAA tournament after winning 44 games. Now, unfortunately for them, their non-con schedule is still not very good this season. But, there's a fire under their belly trying to get to the NCAA tournament. And I think everyone thought, especially in the Big Ten, they were good enough to get there. And I think they're going to be pretty good again this season.
Anything about Illinois?
Illinois, no, I don't have anything about Illinois about that. I was going to mention the point, yes, about Maryland. Yes, they do lose Alini, but they also lose Ryan Ramsey, their pitcher, who just so happened to throw the second only no-hitter, not even no-hitter, perfect game, which is even harder in NCAA history. So, these teams, obviously they're going to lose players, but you can't focus on the losses. It's next man in, and these teams recruit really well. They're always prepared. That's why Maryland's, favorite. I know they have a sour mouth not being able to claim the Big Ten tournament champions. There's a fluke Michigan run that we'll talk to about later. But these teams will be ready. I think they're going to stay up top.
So let's look at kind of Big Ten in general. We'll go a bit of overrated, underrated with you guys. I'll have a different question for you, because we talked pre-show because you're.
I'm gonna get in trouble.
You're gonna get in a lot of trouble.
If I start saying
Greg
teams
might not be
overrated.
too happy. Nick, I'll start with you. Who's the most overrated team in the Big Ten?
Well, I think I'm going to have to plead the fifth on this one as well, because Griffin knows I'm calling games, so I don't want to get myself in any big trouble here.
Underrated.
Underrated.
What team could make that surprise run?
A team that can make a surprise run, honestly, off the top of my head, I'm not really sure, to be honest. Let's see.
We could come back. We could go to Griffin.
Sure.
Griffin, what about you? What team's going to make that surprise run in the Big Ten?
I'm not going to make a prediction, but I'll say
I'm not
a
asking
team
for a
to
prediction.
watch
Yes.
is Iowa. I think Iowa sports are funny because it feels like almost every athletic team at Iowa, especially the prominent ones, are really, really good at one aspect of the game, but they're held back by the other aspect. You think of football, men's and women's basketball, who have, football has a great defense, a horrible offense. Their baseball team last year, one of the best pitching staffs in the country, elite pitching squad, but their offense was below average and really held them back. They bring back Big Ten Freshman of the Year Keaton Anthony from last year. I think if their offense can just take a slight step up, say average 1 or 2 more runs per game, they can compete for a Big Ten title because they still have a really good pitching squad and have built a really good program of arms there.
Andy, overrated, underrated, who you got?
Overrated is the Big Ten tournament champions, Michigan. All right, they have a lot of freshmen coming in. It's going to be, the coach reading an article before the show saying we might ask players to do something that they haven't done. If you haven't pitched since high school, you might be pitching for us. If you haven't played third base, you might be playing third base for us. So they're at a time with a rebuilding. It was really just a fluke run last year. That is an incredible fluke run. They won the championship, but overrated. They're not going to come back as Big Ten champions.
Then what about you? What's your team to watch?
Tracy Smith is the new head coach at Michigan. He was Indiana's head coach. So some IU fans might be a little upset that you're taking shots at Michigan.
supposed to be
he
honest
was the
here.
one that led them to the IU to the College World Series in 2013. So
I'm just
you got to be
being
careful.
honest. Hey, thank you. I will. For future reference, I will be careful. Underrated. I like IU. And it's not just because I go to IU, but honestly, you look at the roster, they're incoming, returning a lot of players. Chris Matheson in the middle of the lineup is just absolutely insane to have. But it's a great team. They're projected to finish 6th in the conference. I think they're going to finish a little higher than that.
Awesome. Well, guys, don't go anywhere, because coming up after the break, Sam Heuser joins the show to break down the Big Ten baseball season. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Now joining the show is Sam Heuser with more on Big Ten baseball. Sam?
Thanks, Evan. College baseball is back, but more importantly, Big Ten baseball is back. So with the plethora of talent on each roster, this season is setting up to be one of the best ones yet. 13 teams prepare for battle for the chance to claim the illustrious Big Ten title and an automatic bid to the 2023 NCAA College World Series. But before the pitch is thrown, let's check out the Big Ten preseason rankings and some players to keep an eye on. So taking the top spot are the Maryland Terrapins. They finished last year 47-14 and 18-5 in conference play, which gave them the regular season Big Ten title last year. The following rankings look like this, with Rutgers at 2, then Iowa, Illinois, and Nebraska rounding out the top 5. After a strong showing at the Big Ten tournament, the Indiana Hoosiers are projected to finish this season 6th overall. As for the reigning Big Ten champion, Michigan Wolverines, they're projected to finish 8th in the conference. While they say defense wins championships, offense is where the real excitement lies. And who else to focus on but Maryland's shortstop, Matt Shaw. Shaw is the preseason favorite to win Big Ten Player of the Year. Shaw posted a .290 batting average last season and demonstrated his power by hitting 22 homers for the Terrapins. This offseason, Shaw only seemed to get better as he batted .360 in the Cape Cod League, winning him league MVP and putting him on the MLB's all-draft prospect team. With first pitch just days away, I've got to say one thing. This is where the fun begins. Evan, back to you.
Thanks, Sam. We're here with our panel still, Nick Rodecap, Andy Manzur, and Griffin Epstein. Guys, let's do a little quick-fire predictions. I'll go to two for these. Freshman of the Year, who's going to be the Indiana Freshman of the Year, and the National Freshman of the Year? Nick, I'll start with you.
Indiana, I think I've got to go with Tyler Cerny. He was a prospect coming out of Center Grove, missed most of his junior season due to a mysterious illness, but he came back his senior year like he never left. And being that I'm from Indiana, I've seen him playing. I've seen his name popping up all over the place alongside, but certainly not along at the level of Max Clark, but he's definitely up there. So I think he's one to watch for sure.
Andy, who's your Freshman of the Year?
Freshman of the year, Max Clark. You know, he's going to come up strong and do some good numbers.
Griffin.
Devin Taylor on Indiana is someone to watch. We talked about so much returning for Indiana, 8 of their 9 starters. So I don't know if Taylor will start right away for IU, but he has a really strong bat, dynamic, athletic. He was the 2nd highest rated recruit in Ohio. At some point in the season, he's going to fit in for IU and get a lot of hits. Perfect Game is voting him the Big Ten Freshman of the Year. Certainly a guy I think that's going to have a big season for IU.
All right, moving on. Pitcher of the Year. You could go national or you could go Indiana. Griffin.
Jason Sabacool at Maryland now bumps up to be their ace. We talked about how good the Terps are. I think he'll have a really good season.
Nick.
This is going to be a weird one, but I've got my eye on Andrew DeCanich. He came out of Brebeuf Jesuit High School in Indy. He's at Vanderbilt right now. I got to play alongside him. Luckily, never had to stand in the box against him. He's got electric stuff, and I think he's, who knows, he's a dark horse.
Anyone on Indiana as well?
Anyone on Indiana? Honestly, I mean, there are so many guys who have transferred in. It's tough to say right now, to be honest. I think that's something we'll have to watch as the season goes along.
It'll be a good storyline. Moving on. Coach of the Year. And Jeff Mercer is an acceptable answer for this, and I hope somebody says it. Nick, I'll start with you again.
Coach of the Year. Honestly, I'm not sure.
We'll come back. Andy.
I like what you're talking about. Jeff Mercer of Indiana. He's going to lead this squad, his squad, probably make it one of the most legendary Indiana squads, the way he's preparing them, the way he just wants them all to work. You know, they're all buying into the idea of a family there. They're going to have a great season. That's why he will win Coach of the Year.
2012 could be all over again, Griffin.
Yeah, Jeff Mercer won it in 2019 when IU won the Big Ten title. Hey, Tracy Smith is back at Michigan, obviously a name that IU fans are watching, but a lot of great coaches out there in the Big Ten, some turnover too at the bottom of the Big Ten, so that's definitely an interesting race to watch as we head towards May.
And it definitely should be. All right, National Player of the Year. Who wants to go first? Who's going to take it? Or am I just going to pick? Griffin, you're going to take it?
I got one. This is a tough question. Some of these were really tough questions.
That's
put us
my
on
job.
the
It's gotta be a
spot.
tough question.
There's so many college baseball teams. There's so many college baseball players. But I saw this guy last year, so I'm picking him. Quinn Matthews. He's a left-hander at Stanford. I saw him pitch at the Round Rock Classic last year. Didn't pitch against IU, but pitched against Arkansas after. Absolutely shoved. I mean, just he's long. He strikes guys out. Incredibly confident. Stanford had a plethora of riches last year, so they actually moved him back to the closer role. This year he's probably going to be a starter. He's on all the watch lists. I think Quinn Matthews, could be the National Player of the Year. Obviously, you look at LSU, some of the teams in the SEC have some really great players as well.
Nick, Andy?
I'm staying in the Big Ten. I want Matt Shaw, shortstop out of Maryland. This guy's hitting .290 last year with 22 home runs. He's got a small frame, 5'10", 185. But, I mean, the statistics don't lie. He batted .360 in the Cape Cod League, which is where the best go. If you're a draft prospect, you're there. If you're already drafted, you're there. So for him to be Cape Cod MVP, I feel pretty good about putting my money on him to win National Player of the Year.
I like it. Nick?
I'm going to stay home. I'm going to stay in Bloomington for this one. I think Carter Matheson stays on the trajectory he was on last year. The amount of home runs, the amount of power he showed as a freshman, I think was really impressive. And the level of physical development that's possible here in Indiana, I think he's a dark horse.
Let's have some fun. We'll close out the show. College World Series matchup and your winner. Nick, I'll start with you.
I'm going to go LSU Tennessee. LSU rose up the preseason rankings. They got a lot of really talented transfers. Tennessee's always a powerhouse. SEC baseball, it's crazy to watch. I think those will be the two that end up duking it out.
And your winner?
Winner, I'm going to say Tennessee.
Tennessee. Andy?
LSU, but not Tennessee. I'm going to say LSU versus Louisville. I think those two teams will be a great match, a great color combination too on the diamond, and
purple and red.
But
A little too bright. I think I'd be blinded.
Oh well,
maybe
they
just
play under the lights in big moments. They got sunglasses, all the accessories over there in Omaha. Get yourself some Oakleys. But you know what? Honestly, LSU is going to take it over Louisville. It's going to be close though. It's going to be close.
Yeah, LSU is the obvious pick, top to bottom. They're super talented. They got Tommy White from North Carolina State in the transfer portal, one of the best home run hitters in the country. The one thing to watch is the last 2 years, a school from Mississippi has won. Mississippi State and Ole Miss. Southern Miss has a very good program. They hosted a regional last year. If the Mississippi trend continues, Southern Miss would be next. I'm just saying, throwing it out there.
So you're going to take Southern Miss, and we're just going to stay on the Mississippi trend.
Hey, if they win, you can play the clips. I'll be hired somewhere as a college baseball analyst, and all is well. If I pick LSU, I'm right with everyone else.
And if not, you can be just back to the job hunt with the
no
rest
one will
of
ever
us
see
seniors.
this. Yeah,
and no one will see this. Nick, Andy, Griffin, thank you so much for joining the show. That's going to do it for this week. Be sure to continue the discussion and follow along with us on Instagram and Twitter at IUSTV Sports. With that, there's one thing left to do, so toss it up, find out if we'll catch it, and we'll see you next week.